everybody. This is AI with Dr. Craig Hansen. I'm delighted to have Scott Leman, who is the Enterprise Business Manager for HP in New Zealand. Good morning.
Morning.
Great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks. Nice to be here and happy to contribute. So yeah,
Really appreciate
looking
it.
forward to
We
it.
we encountered each other when we were at a board meeting for a group of schools that were focused on an AI project. And you started to tell me about your interest in your work as well with AI. Why don't you tell us your origin story, your backstory of how you came to be doing what you're doing?
So I've been at HP for about 13 years now. And so during that time, I've been in various roles, essentially selling computers to organizations and selling them to consumers and retail, and then into my current role, I'm essentially responsible for the team that sells notebooks and printers and communications equipment to government and really large enterprise customers. So dealing with some of New Zealand's biggest entities and making sure they're having a great computing experience and making sure we're finding the right devices for them to meet their requirements. So yeah, that's sort of my day-to-day job. And then I've been a bit involved in, so I'm currently the presiding member of New Windsor School Board. So I've been involved in helping give some input into some of the AI frameworks that we're trying to sort of roll out across schools in the Auckland area. So yeah, from an AI perspective, the devices that we're selling are now starting to have AI chips as such. So neural processing units specifically within that. So while we've had AI capabilities for a number of years, I'd say it's probably only in the let's call it last 6 months, that we're starting to see a lot more chips and PCs that are more AI tuned, let's say, to try and put it simply, which essentially is taking some of that processing load and moving it from the CPU or the GPU, the graphics processing unit, and now putting that into what we're calling, or what's been called an NPU, which is a neural processing unit. And that's really optimized for that sort of AI load. And it's while things like the graphics card can do that, the NPU is able to do it more efficiently. And more efficiently essentially means you get things like better battery life, because you're not having to churn through a whole lot of energy using something that's not efficient into a part of the device that is efficient. So we're starting to see that sort of technology make its way through at least our product portfolio, and then into our customers to sort of get that use out of it. So yeah, we've seen well, AI hasn't been new. It's now really coming into the forefront of what we're doing and what a lot of our customers are looking for to really future-proof them, and then also exploring how they can see some of those benefits for efficiency in the organization essentially.
It's really interesting because in education, often we have Chromebooks or we might have donated gear. It's quite often that schools are using technology which may be a few years behind and certainly not at the corporate spec of machinery. So can you just explain a little bit more about that? Because my understanding is that we have a CPU, might have a GPU if we need really good graphics as well. But now is this a third processing piece of hardware inside the machine?
Yeah, so essentially, when something like a Chromebook is a very, very basic computer essentially. Most of the work that it's doing is really using the cloud and using all that sort of capability, and it's just a
Mm,
window into the cloud as such.
mm.
Um, where if you look at some of the more advanced devices, it's doing some of that processing work on the actual device it's in the student's or in the person's hand. And so you're having things like Intel chips or AMD chips or even Qualcomm chips that have, I guess, little chips inside it that are then focused and dedicated to doing some of those AI related tasks on the device rather than in the cloud 10,000 kilometers away in a data center somewhere. So that's sort of the shift that we're seeing.
So what sort of tasks might there be being done inside that machine that are now no longer going to be in the cloud?
Yeah, so uh, a lot of the things that we're sort of seeing at the moment is even things like blurring the background that you can see here today, or if there is a dog barking outside, that machine learning and AI will then use noise cancellation to make sure that you can't hear that when we're having this conversation. Now, before that, all that processing would have been done on let's say on your CPU.
Mm,
And now that, because then those tasks can be done on your NPU, which allows for better efficiency. And that better efficiency then drives better battery life. So that means you can sit on a Zoom call for 8 hours a day instead of 5 hours a day, and your battery life runs out, or sort of that sort of thing. We're also seeing, especially in that creative. For those creative, those creators, when they're doing things like using Adobe, using Photoshop, saying change the background to this, or help me with this video editing, and remove all the pauses, or remove this section, or change the background. A lot of those AI tasks are now being enabled on the actual device, which then means it can be a lot more efficient and save a lot more time. So instead of
mm,
having all the data go from your device up to the cloud, that work gets done in the cloud and comes back down. Sometimes it can take a very long time.
mm.
A lot of those capabilities can now be done what we call on-prem, essentially on the person's premises, which allows efficiency. And for some organizations, it's also a data protection
Right.
thing as well. So that means their IP isn't leaving their premises, which is also important, especially if you're the defence force, the police,
Mm,
a number of other sort of large organisations where data is critical, and that leaving going somewhere else is a big no-no. So
mm.
yeah, you're sort of seeing that type of requirement in some of those customers.
That's answering the question that was going on in my mind was, oh, would that mean the data stays there? So does the chip itself connect to the cloud to maybe get instructions on what it should do with what it's been asked to process?
Yeah, so it's really let's call it software specific as to whether it's requiring that processing on the device, or whether it's a cloud-based tool. So let's say if you're using ChatGPT, that's a cloud-based tool. That processing is being done in the cloud, or in a data center somewhere. Something like Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, that's typically all been done in the cloud. Now we are seeing from Microsoft there's sort of three different versions of their Copilot. We're seeing Copilot significant adoption in like large business in New Zealand. So you sort of have the free version of Copilot. So essentially, you go to the website and you can type in your prompts, and you'll get an answer from Copilot. There's then Copilot Pro, which is essentially the version that's integrated into Microsoft 365. So it ties into all of your Words and your Outlooks and your Teams and those sorts of applications, and allows you to do a lot of I guess it's there to improve your productivity and drive efficiency.
Mm,
And then you have Copilot Plus, which is really using the the processing power of your actual device. So using the NPUs and the processing, and has quite a high processing power requirement of what was called 40 TOPS. So that's trillions of operations per second that's required by the processing power to enable some of those features.
mm.
And that gives a different experience for the user. So it's yeah, there's more and more things that are starting to be enabled on the actual device, but I'd say we're still quite at the early stages. For the vast majority of users, that AI capability is still being done on the cloud.
So when I'm speaking with schools, as we discussed the other night, is really around privacy, making sure that we're anonymizing data if we're trying to look for trends or analyze things, not
Mhm.
putting students' names into an open chat system. Do we need to
Yeah.
forget about that type of security arrangement if you're using a chip on a machine, or do we still need to be sensible about it all?
Still need to be sensible about it. So some applications will be done on the device, but there's very few. The majority of the tools that are being used for education today, including a lot of the ones that you went through, they are very much being done on the cloud, and then you have to be very careful around data. So it's really like, hey, if we you can be if the software that you're being used is confident that you're running essentially a local version of that application um, on your device. I mean, a quick way to check it is I'll turn my Wi-Fi off and disconnect from the internet. Will the AI capability still run?
Right.
If yes, then you can be confident that it's been done on your device. If it's like error, not happening, you know that there's some sort of cloud connection required. So there's things like we've seen some of the creative suites that they can do like video editing or photo editing and things like that. Very much they can be working on your device on-prem and don't require a connection to the internet to then actually plug into the cloud. There are a number of other tools that will work in that way, but the vast majority of the free software, the large language models that you're connecting in from an educational purpose, pretty much all of those are having some sort of cloud processing requirement or
S-
using the cloud for that.
So tell us about some of the other projects that you're involved in if we step away from AI, or maybe they do involve AI, but some of the other projects to just give educators an idea of where things are heading so they can talk about it knowledgeably with families and children and their colleagues.
Yeah, and I think it's important to sort of look at what the students of today are going to be needing to do in the future.
Mm,
So I mean, it's a bit like if you were going into the workforce and you didn't know how to Google something, you would be at a significant disadvantage in terms of being able to just do life, right? You wouldn't know where to go, how to get there, how to do anything because you're not using the major tool of the day. And I sort of view AI as very much in that realm, if not overtaking that sort of thing. I think it's going to be a significant shift in how we do life, essentially. And so I think it's super important that the kids of today are able to understand and use these tools in um, a good way and in a correct way and getting the most out of it so that they can then be successful in wherever they go, whether it's helping with their learning needs, whether that's just being more efficient and more productive with what they're trying to do, or whether that's just hey using the tools in a safe way and not sharing all of their personal information out to the wider internet. So I think that's really important. What we're seeing as well, so a lot of the companies that we're dealing with at the moment. So you sort of got one group of how do we shut this thing down? We don't want anyone to be using AI because we're scared that we're going to lose information. We're scared that it's going to be used in an inappropriate way. So you've got a lot of that. A lot of those are large government customers that are just like, we're scared. But we know that our users are already using it. So how do we put guardrails and frameworks around that?
mm,
So they're doing things like, okay, how can we block people from using these sites, or how can we stop this? Or I guess the ones that are doing a good job is how can we educate our employees to use this in a responsible way? You've got another group of large businesses that are going, okay, well, we can see that there's a lot of productivity benefits from this. So they're deploying tools in large using things like Copilot Pro. I mean, large businesses are typically using Windows operating environments, and so this then ties into their Microsoft 365. And it's then encouraging those workers to do things like, okay, turn this Word document into a PowerPoint presentation.
right.
Copilot, please turn this into a PowerPoint presentation that's going to be this many slides and looks like this, and then all that work gets done, and then I'll then take that, let's call it the 80% done version, and then make the tweaks to make it into what they need. Or it's can you please read my unread emails that I've received today and summarize the most important ones and let me know what I need to action. And then Copilot will go through and read your emails and go, actually, you've got this email here from Craig. You've got a meeting with him in 10 minutes. It's really important that you replied to him because he's running late. Or it's hey, someone's trying to find a meeting time in your schedule. Can you look at my scheduling and please give them three options that when I'm going to be available for that meeting? And it's like it'll pre-write it. Scott is currently available at 10:30 on Wednesday. He's available at 6 o'clock on Friday. Like, and then you can then have that ready to go. So it's all those little productivity gains that are allowing you to hey, ideally get more work-life balance, but also achieve more in the hours that you're actually working.
Mm,
So sort of seeing a lot of those AI benefits making their way into organizations today. And that's really the benefits for your traditional I'm going into work, I'm going to do some emails, I'm going to do some meetings, which is a large majority of your typical office worker. So you're definitely seeing that sort of that AI focus, and you're seeing a third group are organizations that are looking at how can we create our own AI tools and AI models to completely revolutionize the way that we do work.
Mm,
And so this can be, I mean, hey, HP at themselves, we're creating things like a chatbot, which can then do things like reset people's passwords, or they can provide entry level or base, like let's call it the first level of IT support. So rather than having to have a call center somewhere and you ring up someone and they help work you through and fix your device or do something, it's like, okay, we're going to use this tool to actually do that initial diagnosis. And that means we can free up all of those engineers' time to then do more productive, more higher value tasks. We've seen other organizations looking at things like how if they're writing advertising content for a product that they've got, that they can then use AI tools to implement that and then save themselves hours of time of having to manually write this product does X, Y, Z, it does blah blah blah. Go AI tool, I want a blurb on this. Please write it in this sort of language and this sort of and a persuasive tone, and generate it. Cool, done, tick, send off, and approve. And it's like all those efficiencies that are then saving a lot of large organizations a lot of time, which one either means that they can do that same work with less people, or those people that were doing that work can now do bigger and greater things, which is ideally what we want to see. So
amazing.
yeah, that's sort
So,
of some of the things that we're seeing in the market.
so just a final question as we wrap up. If there's one thing that you could say to schools, to school leaders who are considering right now, August the 13th in 2024, what would they do for the rest of this year to prepare themselves for what's coming and, in fact, maybe understanding what we have right now?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is teaching students how to use AI in its most basic form. So it's not to be scared of it. Yes, there's a big world of people that are here to steal your data and all of that, but by using the right tools with the right, let's call it the right inspection and the right focus with those kids is really going to open up a whole lot of doors for those people. So it's how can you teach them how to write prompts? How can
Mm,
you show them to go, this is a good way that you can iterate your work? This is how you can get some ideas for a particular project that you're doing. So, I mean, my kids are writing their speeches at the moment. And so it's like, okay, go, hey, AI tool, I'm a 10-year-old girl who wants to write a speech about tigers. Can you give me some ideas of things to talk about? And it's like, okay, here you can write about this you can write about where tigers live, and you can write about what why people like tigers. You can write it like and you can talk about some of those things. And then it's like, okay, now that you've written your speech, go, hey AI, here is my speech that I've written. Can you give me some suggestions on how I can improve it? Or can you help me make it more persuasive? Or it's currently too long. Can you help me take it from 4 minutes down to 3 minutes? Um, it's not using AI to do the work for you. It's to
mm,
help you to improve the work, almost like how a teacher could be there going, okay, I've read your work and I've got some suggestions on these are the things you can do, or actually your grammar's a little bit wrong here, let's change that, or
mm,
maybe these words could be more descriptive. Um, it's using a lot of those, it's using the tools to drive that better educational outcome and to provide ideas and to just yeah help improve the end product, and all those, well, hey, there's the learning of I'm going to write a piece of content, and yes, there's the learning of doing that. There's also the I'm learning how to use AI in a way
mm,
that is going to help me in the future, because when I'm doing a 9 to 5 job in an office somewhere, and someone says, "Can you write a letter to this person about this topic?" Well, guess what you're going to be doing? You're going to be going, "Hey, I want to cover these three points. Can you write a letter to this person?" You're not going to be sitting there writing every single word and taking hours to do that. You're going to be using the tools. And so, if our kids today and when they leave school are going to go to university or leave university with that capability, they're going to be a lot more productive in the jobs that they get to. And I think some of the sort of words that we're using and thoughts is like, you're not going to lose your job to AI, but you're going to lose your job to someone that uses AI. Like
Right.
that's essentially the way that you sort of need to think about this in the future. And it's the same thing for teachers. AI is not here to come in and teach your class, but AI can help you to be more effective, to customize lessons to your students, to help you mark work quicker, to help you come up with lessons plan quicker, it's drive
Mm,
efficiencies. Teachers never have enough hours in the day to do everything that they could possibly want to do. And so if this can take half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour out of their day to do something better and more efficiently, that's another hour that can be spent sitting down with a kid and helping them get a great educational outcome. So
fantastic. Scott, thank you so much for your time. What's the best way for someone to get hold of you if they wish to?
you're probably on LinkedIn. So Scott Leman. Just yeah, search me up and add me. It's probably the best way to connect.
Fantastic. Have a great day.
Cool. Thank you very much.